Hello everyone, welcome back. I am the Weather Dude, and today we are talking about the Mid-Atlantic snowstorm, the winter storm that has just kind of sprung out of nowhere. Like, I was watching this storm, I was keeping an eye on it. In my last video, of course, I said I would update on this system. Last night I went to bed, thinking the Mid-Atlantic, way down south, maybe Virginia, North Carolina, maybe the southern parts of, Delaware, New Jersey might get a little bit of snow. And wake up this morning and that all changed. And not only did this snow, expand farther north, but it got much more significant as well. So we're going to break down everything in this video. I have like a whole onslaught of models here just to kind of get the general consensus. The more opinions we get, the better. But of course, I'm not going to make it, too many models and make it too long of a video. So this is from the National Weather Service. This is one region. I may pull up some other regions as well. This is like the, the Mount Holly, Philadelphia office of what the National Weather Service is expecting for the snowfall totals. And you can see that it's funny because the cutoff is going to be pretty far south, but yet the National Weather Service still could think, or they think, that there could even still be an inch, or at least up to an inch, even areas north and west of Philadelphia, which is pretty interesting. They have about 1 to 3, maybe around 2 to 4 for the 95 corridor. Then south of there is where the 4 to 6 and even 6 to 8 inch regions are. Honestly, I think this is playing a little bit on the lower side, considering some of the snow and like how it's going to come through and how heavy it's going to be. But I also do understand this because for areas down south, like if we use this region for example, areas down south, like all the way, like I'm talking south of Annapolis, down like where Easton and Cape May and Atlantic City, right? You guys are probably, even though you're going to see much heavier snow, you're also going to start with a little bit of rain and temperatures in the 40s. Whereas areas 95 and points slightly northwest, you guys are pretty much going to be all snow with, like, at the worst, a little bit of sleep, but probably going to be all snow for the time that it does fall. All right, so, even though a foot of snow may fall, the question is, does that actually stick to the ground? All right, because, snow falling from the sky and sticking to the ground are two different things. Now, there are high-end forecasts, meaning, like, what is, pretty much the highest that we can see. And I won't spoil anything, but this looks a lot, like this scarily looks very similar, if not almost identical, to the European model solution, what they're calling for. All right, so basically, north and west of Philadelphia, like slightly northwest, like around, southern portions of the Blue Route and, the PA Turnpike, maybe around 4 to 6. You go up to Allentown, North Jersey, still 1 to 3. The 95 corridor itself, like 6 to 10 inches. And then south of there is like 12 to 18 or like 10 to 8 or 10 to 16 inches of snow. So that is a lot. But again, not going to spoil anything. I may have, but the Euro looks very similar to this, at least the 12 that you run from today. If you're watching this maybe tomorrow, of course, things may have changed. All right. Here we have the winter storm severity index. I have used this before. Basically, like shows you, how significant the storm is going to be. And of course, the key is on the right side of your screen. So anywhere in the yellow, basically, pretty much I-95, I'm going to be probably saying that a lot in this video, is a good gauge, for where the snow may fall. Basically, pretty much south of 95. I mean, 95 kind of, roughly runs sort of like this. So basically, pretty much along in the south is where you're going to see a good chunk of the snow, or along in south of 95 from, Philly to DC. South of there is probably where you're going to see the snow. Now, in the yellow means rarely a direct threat to life and property, but there could be some inconveniences in your daily life. All right, now if we zoom out, all right, and notice there's a pretty nice red region there near the Smoky Mountains. But whoa, sorry about that. But here let's zoom in here again. I just wanted to zoom out to show you the general region here. I mean, this yellow goes from the Philly area all the way down, even the Virginia Beach at Norfolk here, and all the way up the shore. All right, at the very least, up to Tom's River. Now, Tom's River and Baltimore and D.C. are in this area, which is the moderate, which is often threatening to life and property. All right, some damage is unavoidable and typically results in disruptions to your daily life. All right, so a bit more in the significant side. And that also is true for parts of the Appalachian and Smoky Mountains here as well. All right, which is obviously where the storm is going to hit first. And then there are some major impacts. Extensive property damage, likely life-threatening, life-saving actions needed, will likely result in major disruptions to your daily life. So that does exist for areas in Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland, Central Southern Delaware, as well as a little area there in South Jersey. But also, we go back over here, pretty much on the Tennessee-North Carolina border, and even there's a little bit of extreme impacts. Extensive and widespread severe property damage, life-saving actions will be needed, all right, and results in extreme disruptions in daily life. So, wow, yeah, that's saying quite a lot here. All right, but this storm pretty much sprung out of nowhere, and the snow is going to be pretty heavy, and the models, I think, all agree on that. Most of the models agree on that. The question at this point is just where, all right? Like the local National Weather Service in my region said that this is one of the most uncertain, 24 to 36 hour forecasts that they've had in like recently, like in a long time. So, or going back like 5-10 years. So this is, I mean, it is uncertain. It's pretty much sprung out of nowhere. Last night, I wouldn't be thinking anything like this at all. Right. So you can see why. Like, look at, so the dark blues is heavy snow. Magentas is like very heavy snow, and like the almost whitish colors, I don't even know what to say. That's just like, that's like an abomination of just heavy, snow. Like I would say pretty much whiteout conditions, even the magenta. But I mean, even so, New York, according to the GFS 18Z run, you can see some flurries. But again, the heavy snow, pretty much Philly, Baltimore, and DC, and then points south and southeast from there. Then you can see the widespread magentas. Like this is a lot of snow that's going to be coming down, or at least coming down very heavily. The question is, again, does it stick? But again, there's your heavy snow region. Again, southern Jersey, southern Delaware, maybe even central Delaware. DC points south around Annapolis. We're talking about Richmond, Virginia as well. All right. And again, you can see magentas and even some whitish colors starting to form there as the storm makes its exit. And this is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, still coming down. All right. Again, the closer to the coast you are on the eastern seaboard, say in the states such as, New Jersey and Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, closer to the coast you are, probably the more snow you're going to see, at least fall, maybe even more snow that sticks, but also the longer it's going to last. Like even 5 p.m., at least along the shoreline, it's still snowing, at least according to the GFS solution. So how much snow? Well, that extreme heavy snow region I showed you in North Carolina there, it results in 26 inches. I don't know if that's necessarily realistic, but even over a foot, I really can't, say that with confidence. Because like they're even putting 21 inches in central southern Delaware. Again, this could completely change by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, for example, right? So this could definitely be a very interesting storm to watch. But again, it's probably going to be happening for most of us in 12 hours, and it's definitely maybe even it's probably going to start sooner than that, like 8 hours. So this is definitely something to give an update out about. But Philly 3 inches, around Wilmington maybe 4 or 5, Baltimore maybe 8. It's at 15 inches for DC. There have been storms where DC gets more than Philly. It's not just because you're further south doesn't mean you get necessarily less snow. And this is a good example of that because, for example, Mount Pocono probably won't be getting anything, and yet Atlantic City might be getting a lot. So a good example there. Euro, all right, low is down in North Carolina. It's nice. I'm probably gonna be comparing to like the low placement. So it's maybe a bit longer of a video, but I'm not gonna make it too long. GFS and Euro actually do both agree, right, on that low placement, at least initially, like in North Carolina, for example. But let's actually bring it to where it goes out on the coast, right? So GFS has it off, near Norfolk and Virginia Beach, while the European model, right? Let's actually click this. Let's advance this a little bit. Pretty much has it in the same spot, so they're agreeing on a low track. The amounts are going to be a bit different. So now the dark blue, not as much magenta, but the dark blue is definitely a little bit further to the north. Pretty much encompasses a little bit more of, southeast PA, a little bit more central Jersey, northern Delaware, a little bit in that region, all right? And then making its way offshore. But still, compared to where we were with this storm yesterday, this is a big change from where we were. All right, and look at this. Like, this is why this looks so similar to the European solution. I'll give 2 examples here real quick. 8.8 inches there for that spot in northern Delaware. Look at the high end amount here, 8.9. All right, like that is scaringly similar. All right, also 14 inches down in central Delaware, 14 inches in Dover. All right, like that almost looks like scaringly similar. All right, a foot of snow for Atlantic City. Well, there's your foot of snow. All right, right there is about Atlantic City. So, scare. Oh, sorry, that's the GFS. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. 13 inches, scarily similar, okay? But very different for the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, the GFS had 25 inches, the Euro has like 6 or 7. But yeah, a little bit further to the north and west, so those of you maybe who live in Southeast PA that are northwest of Philly, or if you live in New York City, or if you live on Long Island or Nantucket, you're going to like the Euro a lot better. But again, they could also change by tomorrow morning. I'm just giving the rundown of what it looks like. Now, so the Canadian, all right, looks a little bit different. Now, they actually have some sleet starting out, right, in places like DC, Southern Delaware, Southern Jersey. Now, and also Annapolis. Now, I think it actually could even start as rain for areas further south. That doesn't mean it's not going to go over to heavy snow. And then there you can see right there, DC up to places south of Philly, like Millville, New Jersey, going to be in it. And you know what's really weird is the timing. The timing is so like different with the Canadian model. Like they have the storm just starting Monday morning, where many models and weather corporations have it starting for areas near the Delmarva, for example. Even in Virginia, they have it starting, after midnight, and even like 2 or 3 a.m. at the latest. They have it starting at 8 a.m., peaking at 2 p.m., and still snowing by around 7 or 8 p.m. at night, even for areas inland from the beach. So that's interesting that the timing's shifting a bit later with the Canadian model. But do the totals look all that different from the models? Not really. I mean, the fact there's 5 inches in northern Alabama, I mean, it is January, but it still is something you're not used to. Still, southwest corner of Delaware near Delmar, or actually that's kind of north of Delmar, but near Georgetown, 24 inches of snow. That's 2 feet. All right, that is a lot of snow. All right, so again, the question is, assuming that this 12 to 18 inch area could actually line up, maybe it's actually ends up being like 8 to 12 what actually sticks on the ground, but does that shift north and west with the low track? Does this shift south and east? Is there a dry slot, right? Is there, more humidity and more moisture thrown in there than expected, and, we pump out snow a lot quicker? All right, there's always going to be, in these major winter storms like this, there's always going to be areas of heavy snow that get snow bands. The question is just where, all right? And honestly, as a Mid-Atlantic resident, this is scary. Like, I want to get a lot of snow, all right? So here we have the NAM model. A little disappointing for some, really not so disappointing for others. But see, there's the low down here. Snow area, not always a little bit further to the south, but the snow area is also a lot thinner, right? But still, I mean, if you're down, again, pretty much southern Jersey, southern Delaware, Maryland, all right, southeastern Maryland, central, southeast Virginia, all right, this is where you're going to see a lot of that snow. And it's still, again, 5 p.m. for the coastal locations, and it makes its way on out of here. How much? A lot, for sure. 15 inches. Down pretty much as the hot spot there. It's pretty much the highest totals is southern Jersey. There's a little speck of red, and also in southern Delaware near near Ocean City. But look at the cutoff here. Like, look at Jersey, for example. You got 9 inches here, and then maybe 50 miles, not even north, is 1 inch. All right. Same thing with Delaware. Down in Dover is 10 inches, yet up in Wilmington it's none. In Philly it's none. All right. So kind of a big change. I mean, even DC, 6 inches, Baltimore, maybe barely an inch. So that razor thin cutoff is what I'm afraid this could look like. Now, I don't really, necessarily agree with the NAM, so to speak, right? Because again, the track could be, and I think the amounts are a little off because it could, and also this is the Kuchera ratio. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean what's going to be on the ground. Everything, pretty much all the models here except for the Euro are going to be in the Kuchera ratio. The Euro was 10 to 1. But the Kuchera ratio basically means it's a more accurate snow to liquid ratio because 10 to 1 automatically assumes it's going to be a 10 to 1, 10 inches of snow is 1 inch of liquid every single time. The Kuchera kind of takes, the actual snow to liquid ratio or liquid to snow ratio in effect, which is why I like the Kuchera ratio. But the Kuchera ratio for some areas will actually be higher than 10 to 1. So your Kuchera ratio snow total might be higher than the 10 to 1, all right? Because some areas could even be 12 to 1, 13 to 1, meaning 1 inch of liquid could mean 13 inches of snow, which would be better. All right, so here is the wrap model, and I forgot to change it to the 21Z. For some reason, for 21Z, you might be thinking, well, why aren't you going to 23? Because 23Z doesn't go out long enough. For some reason, the 21Z actually goes out longer than the rest. That's how the wrap model works. So actually, while we wait for that to load real quick, we're actually going to move on to the RDPS model, all right? I mean, like a higher definition, Canadian version. And there is that area of sleet that could get stuck there. And if that does, it's going to bring down your snow totals. But the models don't really think like that, so they might actually, still make the totals high. But still, at 2 p.m., the Canadian models have it happening a little later. 2 p.m., it's like in the height of the storm. When actually, you know, a lot more models are saying that at 2 p.m. maybe it starts to wind down, or maybe not for the beach locations, but like this is 8 p.m. and snow's still going. I mean, not much, but it's still going for areas inlet. It's still going down the shore at a moderate rate, not heavy rate anymore, right? And then it's still flurries for the coastal locations at like near midnight. So RDPS, again, Philly, Wilmington, Baltimore, 5 or 6 inches, 9 for DC, Southern Jersey, and Southern Delaware, like over a foot, like, you know, overperforming here. All right, high resolution model, always one we want to see. Now, they actually have the 0Z run coming in as I was setting this up. It wasn't quite ready at first, but it is now. So we're actually going to take a look at that. But since the wrap model loaded, we're going to kind of take a look at that first. So this is a 21Z wrap model here, all right? Again, low placement similar near South Carolina, North Carolina. By the time we head into like, you know, early Monday morning, then it starts to track north. And like, look at the snow shield. Like this would be best, you know, best case scenario. You know, a lot more people get snow. I'm sure people will be happy with snow. If you don't like snow, then maybe you don't like this. But again, though, question is 2 p.m. Is it still going full force? I mean, it could be. All right. Honestly, the low placement looks similar to what the GFS and Euro were saying. Like the models agree. Like, I mean, at some point, like the low, you know, it could emerge near North Carolina and Virginia. I think the models actually disagree on more. Will there be a dry slot? Will there be, you know, a bigger area of snow? Will more moisture get thrown up more and push snow farther northwest? All right, that's definitely something the models have been considering, because the low placement, in terms of where the low is tracking, the models honestly do agree on that. Although, again, things are still uncertain because it could still change. All right, because this also, not just the model, like just because all the models agree on something doesn't mean it has a 100% chance of happening. All right, same thing like when we talk about hurricanes, for example. All right, and then there's your cutoff right there. As we head towards, you know, 3, and now we're into 4. All right, so the RAP model, RAP model, whatever you want to call it, it's totaling a lot more for areas on the I-95 corridor and even just northwest of it, with still Southern Delaware and Jersey getting the brunt of it, like the 12+ inch total. So you guys might luck out on this. Now, I can't really guarantee you're going to be over a foot, but maybe you guys still could get the highest totals, whatever those totals may end up being, because the models seem to agree that that could be like the bullseye region. Right? So that was the RDPS. We did do that. So let's go to the high resolution model now that it's all loaded and ready. All right. Again, this is the latest 0Z that's just coming in. All right. So here we have, again, heavy snow starting to form near Maryland, you know, Delaware, New Jersey. But look at this latest run from the high resolution model. Has a lot more snow on I-95 corridor, and even points just northwest of it. So this will make you I-95 folks a little happier, including myself. But then the low moves off the coast, and then the snow pushed out. Only exiting, though, they have it lasting a long time. Like, even for I-95, you guys could still be seeing snow through 4 p.m. flurries. Could it last that long? Potentially here. All right, so let's actually go to the 0Z on the snowfall map, because that was the old map from before. All right, and we're going to have it, of course, in the Kuchera ratio. And this definitely looks a lot more likable for you I-95 folks. Honestly, for I-95, again, Philly, Baltimore, DC, and even down towards even Richmond. This is where the most uncertainty lies. I mean, Southern Delaware, Southern Jersey, Southern Maryland, Southeast, or not Southeast, but Central Virginia, you guys look like you're going to get a decent amount of snow. Now, the only way that could change is if more mixing and rain happens. But I mean, still 5-6 inches for example, like Wilmington, 4 inches for Philly, still 8 inches for DC, 7 inches for Baltimore, and then again, there's that area of like 12 to 15 inches right there for Southern Delaware and Southern Jersey. So, and the mountains as well, even going for 24 inches near, not too far away from Asheville. All right, and our last model here to wrap it up is the FV3. It's kind of like I think it's like a variant of the GFS, but it's the HV3, one of the HRW models. And again, there's the snow. Didn't want to do with sounding. There's the snow. Now, again, does it start as rain for areas down south? That could, impact your totals. But snow is going pretty far northwest. Like, we're talking New York City and even northwest of that. I really don't know if that's going to happen. If, like, this is best case scenario. It's a good best case scenario model. Then the low, now again, this is what I mean. Look at the low center. It's hard to see, but it's, again, in the same exact spot. And yet snow is getting almost up to Boston and New York City and Connecticut and areas in between. So I think the question more so is how big is the snow shield at this point? Because honestly, most of the models, if not all of them I've seen today, have had the low pressure emerging somewhere in this region, either off near just north of Cape Hatteras, around Norfolk and Virginia Beach, which definitely does, it in normal situation would set up the I-95 and point south for a good deal of snow, depending on the exact environment conditions. I think the question is now, how big is the snow shield? Would there be a dry slot? And again, even them too, right? 4 o'clock p.m. could still be snowing. Areas even inland in the beaches, that is something to be questioned. But what's funny is the totals with them actually do look kind of low. Like you would think oh yeah, 6 inches all the way up, 995. Not really. They actually don't even have over a foot for southern Delaware and Jersey. Really weird. Over a foot though for the Smoky Mountains. So this is very interesting. I would definitely try my best to get an update out tomorrow. Of course, if anything we see any radical changes. Thank you guys so much for watching. And to those of you who are still in something known as school, hopefully guys, if you live in this area, hopefully, maybe get a nice snow day, get a little extended winter break. I'm sure some of you guys would love that. So thank you guys for watching. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video.